this is it's a little bit busier than I wanted, that I want to deal with, but I don't want to sit here and repeat it all necessarily. This is where I'm at right now, in what I'm trying to focus on is this history here, and this kind of poor connection in terms of me starting a series several weeks ago on a Sabbath, school, Sabbath, camp meeting, and then here. This series is so broken up that if we put it into a box set, which we probably would do to send out, it's going to be kind of disjointed. But one of the places, I'm not touching everywhere in this series that I still feel convicted that needs to be presented. No way I'm going to get to it here. But one of the places I wanted to get is in this history, and I wanted to put enough background for this history to see that because of the 126, because of this chiastic structure over there that is playing out in our history, not as a 2520, but a 126 and 151, that when we get into this history here, 9/11 to midnight cry, that in agreement with Ezekiel 12's commentary about these two tables, this is where the effect of every vision's taking place. And at the end of our last presentation, there was a point in time when we were grappling with the issue that Sister Allie was raising about shouldn't we have the empowerment of the second angel's message before the third? If I'm saying the third arrives here, shouldn't we see something that has been illustrated by the midnight cry in the Millerite history that reaches its climax on October 22nd, 1844? And because it was the second angel's message, it should be a visual test. So I hope you see this connection with Daniel 1 that allows us to give a second witness to a visual test in this history. I'm saying that these 10 years from 2004 to 2014 are these 10 days in Daniel chapter 1. I'm saying that these 10 years come 3 years after 9/11, brief period of time. I'm saying there's a brief period of time that is not identified in Daniel chapter 1, and it certainly doesn't look like 3 years to me, but I get it if you're going to stumble over that. Daniel comes to Babylon. He's got to make his decision, no, I'm not going to eat the king's meat. Maybe he would make that on the very first day, you could argue. But also it's telling us that he has to be brought into favor to Melzar, so I think you have prophetic license to see more than just the first day all this takes place. So that's my argument for seeing a period of time between 9/11 and here, Daniel 1 to the 10-day test. So in this history, I'm believing that this is where the dirt brush man, who is the line of the tribe of Judah, is coming in here and cleaning things up, getting out the rubbish and the counterfeit coins. And in this history, we should also be seeing an experience going on among God's faithful people that was illustrated by William Miller in his dream and John in the story of the 7 seals. And what should we see from God's people during this time period? Based upon those two things, William Miller's dream and John in Revelation 7. What? There has to be some weeping going on. Okay, right? John weeps much in Revelation 5 because no man is worthy to open the book that's sealed with 7 seals. And once he weeps, weep not, for the Lion of the tribe of Judah has prevailed to open the book that's sealed with 7 seals. And in William Miller's dream, after all this confusion that's brought in and covering up his jewels and the introduction of counterfeit coins, etc., he reaches the point where he doesn't have even the willingness to try to push them out any longer. They've overwhelmed him. And he weeps, and when he weeps, as John wept, then the dirt brush man comes in. So in this history, I'm saying is where the dirt brush man's coming in. And of course, what am I saying, just to check that we're all on the same page? From midnight to the midnight cry, in the context of William Miller's dream, what am I saying happens in that history? from midnight to the midnight cry in the terminology of William Miller's dream. What am I suggesting goes on right here? Okay, they're put back in. What I was looking for, that's correct, is they get cast into the casket. Why do I want to take the expression from William Miller's dream that they're cast into the casket without any human power? Because it's connecting with Revelation 8 verse 1. So William Miller's dream is connecting with Revelation 8 verse 1. And where are you going to find William Miller's dream? In early writings, page 81. Okay, so and 81 is a symbol of midnight. Okay, so we've got several internal connections going on here, if we're willing to see. But this midnight cry here is also the first Sunday law in the United States, because Sister White says if we would understand how the Sunday law comes in, we but have to see how the Sunday law came into the early church, and then she gives us the history of Constantine to 538. It's a progression of Sunday laws. Exalting Sunday, downplaying Sabbath, ultimately reaches the point where you're persecuted for keeping Sabbath, forced to keep Sunday. So this first Sunday law comes in right here, and had a reason for saying that, and not, it's gone again. I wanted to cut this off. Okay, it'll come back. Lord willing, it will come back. All right. I'll wait for it to come back and not try to force it to come back. So, you know, and I'm making a claim here that seems to me to be a little bit, not convoluted, but I mean, I can see how people would wonder if that's valid. And so I want to make sure you understand the claim that I'm making. I'm telling you that at the same point in time that the Dirt Brush Man comes in to begin to straighten out William Miller's jewels, which is the old past, that at the very same time the jewels from our history are being troubled. So that there is these two dreams, these two stories, the beginning and ending of Adventism are coming together. And what I'm telling you about over there about the polywog is that now that we realize some of the implications of here, we can look back, and then when I look back, I begin to think through places where I started seeing things get changed around a little bit, and what I remember even having my warning flags aroused, but I didn't really know what it meant or what it was meaning or what it was going to cause. But I was also in the position where I really couldn't be the one that, on that level, start complaining about it. So in here, in this history, not only do we have, for the first time, other people teaching this message, they're beginning to handle these truths and confront these truths with their own preconceived ideas and their own, you know, whatever, coming to different conclusions. But you also have something in here. You have a couple things in here, I'll just mention a couple, that are happening by the line of the tribe of Judah, okay, in this history. One of them that we will get attacked over incorrectly is people will accuse us of numerology. Okay, now first off, I don't know much really about what the genuine definition of, you know, satanic numerology is. But I know enough about it to know that what we recognize in numbers is not numerology, okay? But I know well enough that when you're presenting God's truth, you're going to get accused of a lot of satanic things that you're not doing, so I'm not too threatened by it. But I want you to understand that the introduction of numbers into this movement is positive. It was introduced by Palmoni purposely. It's expanded our understanding of the scriptures in ways that you would never have expected. But it also contributed to some, no, I don't want to say confusion. I don't want to say the line of the tribe of Judah introduced some concepts that produce confusion, but they sometimes make the clarity of the truth clouded up, because as we handle these numbers, we can misapply them or misuse them or misrepresent them. So anyway, in this history, let me not even place it in the context of confusion. With the introduction of numbers, the student of prophecy is now confronted with understanding another line of education, if that's the way to say it. Now you got to start checking how you're doing on math. Okay, how those kind of concepts. And for those of you that are new to this message and you think that I'm exaggerating this idea that now you have to understand what's, math, a different field of study in order to keep up with the prophetic message, I'm dead serious. Palmoni in this history, when he took us to Paneum, he began to introduce numbers that the scientific world studies and speaks about. Numbers that are so much of mathematical theory or whatever that I don't have the aptitude to even explain it correctly. And the times that I have tried to explain it, I'm usually getting corrected afterwards by the mathematicians. For instance, without going through it, in Matthew 16, when Jesus comes to Caesarea Philippi, well, Caesarea Philippi in the time of Jesus is Paneum in the time of Daniel 11. So Paneum is one of the battles between the king of the north and the king of the south that was opened up to us in December of 2016 when the Lord removed his hand from a foundational misunderstanding that we had, just like he removed his hand. The fullness of the year misunderstanding in the Millerite history. So Paneum, when you get to Paneum and you're in Matthew 16, you begin to see Palmoni doing things with numbers that are, what's the name for that cycle that governs the distance between the sun and the planets? What's that called? The Metonic? No. Okay. Does anyone know what I mean by that? The golden ratio is the common term, but there's even a more technical term. Okay, but anyway, the golden ratio. How many know what the golden ratio is? Okay, I'm telling you out front, I can't explain it to you. But you don't know what it is? You've never even heard? Never even heard of it.
Where the distance keeps increasing, something along those lines. I remember that.
Okay, now, Brother Paul, it's phi. Yeah. You see, when he says it's phi, this is a mathematical term, if that's the right way to say it. We're not. You and I aren't too familiar with it, but we are familiar with pi, aren't we? I don't know that I'm spelling that right, but that's pi, because we've all heard of pi r squared. Okay, so pi is a mathematical term. That's an I. I'm just using that because we've all heard it even if we don't understand it. But another mathematical term that's similar to pi is phi. And it has a numerical, it represents a numerical value. And Brother Paul is going to tell us what that numerical value is.
1.618.
Okay, 1.618. Yeah, it's one of these things that just goes, but that's not my point. Phi is also Philippi. And this is part of the story of Caesarea Philippi, which is a town that Jesus is at just before the cross that used to be called Paneum. So when we're talking about the midnight cry being Paneum, in the time of Christ, when he was at Paneum, it was Caesarea Philippi. Philippi is this root word, and the mathematical formula for Philippi is 1.618. So go to Matthew 16:18. And I say unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Anyone ever heard that verse before? I mean, common verse. So back up, if you would, to verse 13, so we can put it in the context of Caesarea Philippi. When Jesus came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, saying, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am? Now, if you Google stuff, I don't Google stuff very much, but if you do Google stuff, and you want to Google themes that have been taken up in Christian history, like, do you know what iconoclasm is? I might be saying it wrong. Iconoclasm? You want to correct me on how to pronounce it? Iconoclasm? That's correct, okay. Sometimes it happens. What is it?
Icons come together?
No. It's worshiping pictures.
Oh.
You shouldn't have artwork on your wall. Why shouldn't you?
I don't.
Because of the Ten Commandments. You're not supposed to have idols on your wall. Well, what about a picture of Christ on the cross? Oh, some people will say that that's iconoclasm. But the point is, this has been an argument in Christianity since the beginning of Christianity, and you can Google it and you can go into this history and you can see this argument about whether you're supposed to have pictures on your wall or not. It's a theme in Christianity that's been through years. So another theme in Christianity that you can Google and you can look at is called the Christian, it's something statement, the Christian confession. The Christian confession is a term for a biblical subject that has been discussed for years. And where do you find the Christian confession that gets discussed? Right here in Matthew 16. The Christian confession is what Peter is going to say after Jesus asked, whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, is? And they said, some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and others Jeremiah, or one of the prophets. He saith unto them, but whom say ye that I am? And Simon Peter answered and said, thou art Christ, the Son of the living God. This verse is the Christian confession if you want to boil down the entire statement about Christianity and being a Christian. It's this verse. Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. Okay, so this is a powerful, simple statement about what Peter recognized. What did he recognize? He recognized that Jesus was the Son of God and that he was the Christ. Okay, and when was Jesus the Christ? At his baptism. He was not the Christ before his baptism. Christ means anointed. In the Old Testament, the word Christ is Messiah, means the anointed one. And the Bible teaches us that Jesus was anointed at his baptism. This is where he officially becomes Christ, even though, okay, we know, we get that, right? So Peter is a symbol of people that recognize and understand the Christian confession. That's the label they put on it. And you can see this encoded in this passage if you look. Verse 17, it says, and Jesus answered and said unto him, blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah. Okay, now he's calling Peter Simon Bar-Jonah. What does Simon mean? To hear. Okay, hearing. Simon means hearing. So here's his name, hearing Bar-Jonah. What's Bar mean? Son of. What's Jonah? The dove. So Simon Bar-Jonah is someone that has heard the message of the dove. What's the message of the dove? It's the baptism. When the Holy Spirit comes down, he comes down in the form of a dove. Peter is one that has heard the testing message for his history, which is that Jesus is the Messiah. He is the Anointed One, and He is the Son of God. And here, His name is identifying that for you. So who is this? Who is Peter illustrating at the end of the world? He's illustrating you and I. So as you and I, being Simon Bar-Jonah, we are Simon Bar-Jonah. Who are we as Simon Bar-Jonah? We are those that hear the message of the dove. And what is the message of the dove? 9/11. Okay? So this, Peter is representing us. But brothers and sisters, the people that hear the message of 9/11 and stay faithful, and through the Lord's providence, perhaps don't die, who are they going to ultimately be? The 144,000. So Peter, I'm saying, is a symbol of the final remnant, the 144,000. And the 144,000 are going to be those that have heard the message of the baptism, the message of 9/11. But we're not done. For flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto thee, thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Now, Caesarea Philippi, which is Paneum, is probably the location of the most significant satanic temple on planet Earth. Okay, there's a cave in Caesarea Philippi, and in the cave, there's a pool of water in the cave that's so deep, it's considered to be a bottomless pit. And this cave is the headwaters, this spring that makes this pool of water in this cave is the headwaters for the river Jordan. This is where the descender begins, is at this cave. And this cave through the years has got a temple front put upon it. This is the temple front. And this is a satanic temple that has been in Paneum, perhaps, I mean, the New Age. There are so many Masons, there's so many satanic religions that point to this particular geography on planet Earth and this cave, that it's perhaps the most important satanic place on planet Earth. And it has a nickname. It's not just Paneum. What is the common name for this satanic temple that is at Paneum, that is Caesarea Philippi? It's called the gates of hell. So when Jesus is at Caesarea Philippi, he's saying, who do men say that I am? And the Christian confession that is the Christian confession for Christianity throughout the years is that you're the Son of God, but you're the Anointed One. You're the Messiah. And Peter represents those people that heard that message, and that message in our day and age is 9/11. But where Jesus makes this statement about the gates of hell not prevailing against it is in Matthew 16:8, and phi is this formula of 1.618, and it's called the golden ratio. And I wished we had someone here that had the aptitude to explain it, but it produces a... You got a short summary that you can read that is understandable? Or are you just Googling it?
No, I'm going to read it.
So you already have it. I'm just asking. That's what I'm saying. You're looking it up. If it's going to take you a while, I'm going to let you. All right, fire away, but speak loud so, or I can come over there, I guess.
Calculate it yourself by starting with any number and follow these steps. So pick a number. Pick a symbol.
Okay, 2.
1. Okay, take 1 and divide it by your number. So 1 divided by 2.
0.5.
Okay, then add 1.
And add 1.
Add 1 to your 0.5.
1.5.
That is your new number. And now you take that new number, the 1.5. You take 1, divide your new number. which is 1.5. Take 1 divided by 1.5.
Okay, that one I can't do in my head. This is where we need Paul.
But this is where you just keep doing this in this thing.
Okay, that is not the simple explanation I'm looking for. That may be a simple explanation.
For the planet explanation?
Yes.
Actually, I'm trying to find that.
Okay, let's forget about it. The time's running out. There's a formula. Using this formula, the mathematicians will demonstrate to us if this is the sun, what's the next planet?
Mercury.
Earth, Mars. Is it Mars after us?
Yes.
Okay. This is where my astronomy ends. Okay, anyway, these planets go out. These planets go out further. We all know that, right? The distance between the sun and the first planet and this planet and this planet and this planet and this planet all the way out are governed by this formula. And every scientist knows it. But it's not simply that. There's pretty much every plant is governed by it, with the structure of their branch system. Okay, so anyway, phi, beyond my ability, I told you up front to explain it easily and simply. Look it up. It's not an accident that it's in Matthew 16:18, because that is the formula of phi. Now that is the formula, but phi, I'm saying, is going to be mentioned in Matthew 16:18. In Matthew 16:18, it says that thou art Peter. Okay, now what I'm telling you, to get you back on point, and I went way around the mountain to make this one little point, is in this history, good things and bad things in terms of this message are happening at the same time. Good things, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, he's cleaning up Miller's jewels. Bad things, he's getting human concepts introduced into this movement. Hard things, good things, bad things, hard things. Hard things are stuff like this, Palmoni. You never heard Seventh-day Adventists worrying about Palmoni till this movement. The wonderful numberer steps into this history and he begins bringing numbers, but I mean, like this here, this story, his name's Peter, right? Peter is which letter in the alphabet? F, G, H, I, J. You know it's 16. Okay, 16. What's E? 5. P, Q, R, S. This would be what, 20? 5. 18. So those are the numerical values of those letters. Now, before you worry about calculating anything, I want you to understand something. Please understand this. This is what, if you get this, it'll blow your mind more than the math. The New Testament's written in Greek. It gets translated into King James, right? In King James English. You ever looked at an old King James Bible? You can't read it. If you're talking about, if it's an old one from the very beginning, I can't read it. You ever read those old English words? Some of them you can read, but bigger percentage of them you can't read. Okay, and they had a different amount of alphabet, I believe, than we have today. Did you know that? So our King James is based upon a more modern English language. The letters, I'm pretty sure, are 26 letters, that there were more back in King James. But even if they weren't, this passage is recorded in Matthew 16 in Greek. It gets translated into English. And now we're going to take the English language 2,000 years plus after it's written down in Greek, and we're going to say this is the 16th letter of the English alphabet, 5th, 20th, 5th. I don't know why I had that there. And 20th. And if you go like this, it equals 144,000. So when you go back into this verse, and in verse 18, which is the formula of pi in Caesarea Philippi, pi, and Jesus is saying, you're the one, you represent the one that has heard the message of 9/11 and understood that the Son of God is the anointed of heaven, and at the end of the world, you're the ones that understand 9/11, and therefore you are the ones that will be the 144,000 if you are faithful. Then when you go back in and look at this Christian confession in verse 17, it says, Jesus answered and said unto him, Blessed art thou, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood hath not revealed it unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven. And I say unto thee, thou art Peter. What just happened? He just entered into a covenant relationship, a name change. And who's he entering into covenant with? He changes his name to Peter. It's recorded in Greek, translated into Old King James English, brought down to our English alphabet today, and Peter equates to 144,000. And Palmoni in this movement has come into he's began presenting light that he's never presented to any human beings ever before, just on the level of numbers, okay? So in this history, the line of the tribe of Judah, he's doing good stuff. He's cleaning up William Miller's jewels. But there's bad stuff going on. The jewels of this history are being troubled, but there is hard stuff going on as well. But the hard stuff is good stuff. Palmoni's stuff is good, but it requires you. Look at you. Most people think that I got to have one of the sharpest prophetic aptitudes in this movement, right? Most people think that. Whether I'm not saying it's true, I'm just talking about this movement. And I'm telling you, even if that's partially true, I do think I have a fair aptitude for prophetic understanding. But you just seen what Palmoni does beats me up all over the place. Okay, I don't know how to, I have taught phi correctly in a meeting before, but it's because I took my notes, I had them prepared, and I worked from my notes. I don't have my notes in front of me right now. But it's always the same. After I teach it, 2 weeks down the road, if I'm going to teach it again, I got to get the notes. So my point is, even for someone in this movement, in this history, that has a good prophetic aptitude, now the line of the tribe of Judah is stepping up the significance of this message and the requirements of the student of prophecy to accomplish their given work. Okay, that's not all. What else does he do in this history that Sister Kathy she may not have known she was doing it, and she doesn't like me to use her name publicly. I'm sorry, retract that. In certain instances. Okay, so what else was introduced in this time period that really beats us up, even though it's good? And it's my answer to her problem that she raised earlier. My answer is, this is why we have that problem. Does anyone know what it is? Fractals get introduced in this history, brothers and sisters. Fractals are what are making one of the things that make this prophetic message tricky. Anyone out there agree with me? Okay, so in this history, we got good stuff going on, bad stuff going on. We got a shaking. We got two classes that are being developed here over the message of the latter rain, and they're just about to part ways here. And when they part ways here, you have a visual test which says to the people of this history, you need to choose in this parting of ways which stream of information you're going to follow, because it's a visual test. And from this point on that you have to make this choice, now one of the subjects is you're in the time period where not only can you make a distinction between wheat and tares, you're required to do so. But the distinction you make between wheat and tares is not morality. You're not judging a tare or wheat by their morality. You're judging them by prophecy. And at that level, you couldn't make the correct application in this history, in the time period when you're required to see the wheat and tares. You can't be correct in your identification of a wheat or a tare if you haven't mastered this prophetic methodology that's been being developed in this history and got on the right side of that issue. So all these things that are going on here, lay over the top of that one more thing. And there's others, but one more thing. When the Lord removed his hand from a mistake in our foundational understanding in December of 2016, and we've seen that we were incorrect, I was incorrect, when I identified that the bringing down of the King of the South in 1989 meant that the Soviet Union and the King of the South was no longer a prophetic player. I was incorrect. Russia was still there as a prophetic player. And when the Lord removed his hand from that truth in December of 2016, he left me again. There was a purpose for me to go there, and it slipped away. Okay, we'll come back to it, Lord willing. No, that wasn't it. I know that wasn't it. There was something about what went on in 2016 with him removing his hand. A second witness to what?
I was wondering if you were wanting to go to Isaiah.
There was a group that fell away as well.
Group that fell away. No, that's not what I'm talking. Let me come back to it on my own initiative. If I don't get there, then that's the Lord's will. Okay. Are you following what I'm saying? Here's what I'm saying. Right now, I'm trying to focus on this history, and what I'm trying to emphasize is that now the dirt brush man is in there in this history. Okay. In this history, when you come to here, you got a visual test about the shaking that begins in here. And here you got a parting away of two classes of worshipers in agreement with what we understand 2014 to be in terms of October 22nd, 1844. Two classes of worshipers were separated there. The one class that goes the wrong direction has two elements. People that always rejected it, people that accepted it and rejected it thereafter. Now we're in the history here, and what I'm saying about this history is that the activity that's going on is activity that, rightly understood, is identifying that the line of the tribe of Judah is bringing about a unity in this message and in this movement that's about to be realized here in roughly 6 months. And that, without a doubt, I got to tie this in, even though this will seem a little bit out of sync. This date here is November 9th, 2019. And there's a door going to close there, is there not? And I think with confidence we can say that the foolish priests of this movement, they're done for at that point. They may live, but they're done for in terms of possibility of, and even that's got a caveat, of getting back on track. But what about us? What goes on with us on November 9th, 2019 when that door closed? What does that mean to us? Can I still fall after that? Yes. No. A feeling? A ceiling. Okay, yeah, I agree. You thought it was a ceiling. You probably learned that from me. Because right over here, I have the seal of God being placed at the Sunday law. And when we began to understand this, we would say the midnight cry is the Sunday law also. And then with the fractals, when we began to see that the midnight cry has, you can see it in a fractal at midnight, then midnight's got to have some element of the Sunday law in it, just like the midnight cry has an element of the Sunday law, just like the Sunday law has an element of the Sunday law. And if you're sealed at the Sunday law, then you should expect to see some type of sealing here and some type of sealing here. But the type of sealing you see here or here may not be as complete or full as this is. Okay, it may It may be a ceiling that is, and I'm saying may. This is an area now that is unresolved. It may be a ceiling that does not mean that your character remains pure and spotless for eternity, as I have taught through the years in Testimonies, Volume 5, page 214 through 216. I've taught this ceiling here. I still believe this. You get the seal of God at the Sunday law, your character is set for eternity. If you don't, your character's set for eternity. Mark of the beast, seal of God, one side or the other. But what happens on November 9th? In terms of the wise priests. You want to take a shot at it?
Well, I'm not sure what I'm asking.
Oh, you're going to ask, okay.
I'm going to ask. Because I know that you've taught that unsealing is progressive. Can you be the same thing for sealing?
They're two different things, but yes, they can anyway. Sister White clearly identifies that the sealing is a period of time. She calls it the sealing time more than once. She talks about the sealing time being delayed. So Sister White identifies the process of sealing as a progressive period of time. But I don't think that we can equate the sealing of God's people with the removing of the seals. I mean, they're happening in the same history, but they're two different meanings for those types of seals. So what happens here? Pardon me? We don't know. Okay, we don't know. But we know enough about the implications of the door closing to know that we need to figure this out, right? We need to figure it out. Go ahead. Loud.
In the agricultural model, both the wheat and the tares are cut and bound at the same time. They don't take the tares away and leave them in the field to still grow.
I agree. Do you see what she's saying? She says in the agricultural model, they're not going to go out in the field and first cut the tares and then thereafter cut the wheat. They all get cut at the same time. So she's saying I don't know that she's saying this, but I think so. If we're saying that the tares are cut down right here at a point in time at midnight, then shouldn't the wheat be cut down right there at midnight? Okay.
I thought that the tares were put in bundles first.
Yes, but they're both cut.
No, you don't put them in bundles before. You cut them first, then you put them in bundles.
Okay, so still, if they're all cut at the same time, which would be midnight, there's still the tares are bundled up first.
Okay, you want to go with that, all right? I'm going to take your concept on, okay? Not because you're necessarily wrong, but because this is one of these points now that the line of tribe Judah is going to have to clarify. Have you seen me trying to make the case that this here is October 22nd, 1844? So what would this be? If this is the Sunday law, and this is the loud cry, what is this? Close of probation. So you have the agricultural model telling you that they're both cut down at the same time, but you have you also have in agreement with that what I just went over, that on the line of Sunday law loud cry, that this is close of probation, there should be a door closed. So you got two witnesses, there's some kind of close of probation here. But in your notes, and I hope I can turn to this. I never mind, don't worry about your notes. I don't even want to go there. All right, I'll just tell you the discussion and leave it at that rather than trying to take you on, because I hate taking anyone on, but I hate taking you on when my logic is we're pretty much in agreement with you. I've just kind of stepped a little bit out of my logic to leave some wiggle room for some of these concepts that are taking place. Closed door. Closed door for us for me, the closed door that I taught often was October 22nd, 1844. Is there a closed door on October 22nd, 1844? Yes. Okay, where is it? Holy to the most holy place. And where's your second witness? Parable of 10 virgins is fulfilled right there too, right? So you got two witnesses then on October 22nd, 1844 in Parable of the 10 virgins, or in the change from the holy place to the most holy place. You got a closed door. Although we really don't know, how many people do we say followed on by faith? 50. Okay, and in early writings, page 55, Jesus is getting ready to move into the most holy place in early writings 55, and he tells the faithful that are following him to stay here and what? Keep your robes. Is it robes, not garments? Keep your robes what? Spotless. So before you get to October 22nd, 1844, you're going to have your robes spotless. But October 22nd, 1844 is a closed door. So those people that moved into the most holy place by faith on October 22nd, 1844, they went through a closed door. Was their character set for eternity thereafter? Because we also use that date for the Sunday law, where we claim, or I claim, your character is set for eternity one way or another. So yeah, that's what it says. It says we should be doing public evangelism too, and we should never teach time prophecy. You're right? Okay, so we can at least think about some concepts outside the box. People fell away after October 22nd, 1844 that moved into the most holy place. Where do we get that first door, closed door from? And I know this is going to cause maybe some reaction. Where do we get, when we're talking about a closed door, where do we get that from? Noah. Was everyone on that ark? No, I didn't finish my sentence before I got an answer. I was kind of curious what the implications of that answer was. Was everyone on the ark a symbol of sanctification?
Yeah.
I guess they were
Yes.
to see it there.
Then afterwards, even Noah had an incident afterwards.
Is that a fractal?
Even Noah, what's your other illustration? His sons?
Yeah.
Okay, so can we take Testimonies Volume 5, page 214, 215 and plug it into the closed door in Noah? Because it says their character will remain spotless for eternity. No, you can't. Okay, so the issue that I'm wanting you to see that we're grappling with, because this is a time period of hard things, is the simplistic presentation that I had about the closed door was simply that. It was a simplistic presentation designed to reach Laodicean Adventism with the message that you either wake up or you're going to die with the mark of the beast in the near future at the Sunday law. Adventism is not prepared to receive information beyond that. They don't, their prophetic aptitude is so, it's so non-existent. There's the reality of it, that you got to give them baby food in order to bring them up to speed. And any of you that have labored with Seventh-day Adventists know that this is true, and this is not derogatory. It's just the facts. And the message for Adventism at the end of the world had to be a simple, basic message to try to shock them into the reality that the probation is about to close. But now we're moving away from Adventism, because once the Sunday law comes to the United States and the sixth kingdom of Bible prophecy has been set aside for the seventh kingdom of Bible prophecy, now we're in a history where the Lord is going to be closing doors. How many doors is he going to close? Probably a whole lot, but primarily 3. Okay, what doors is he going to close? There are 3. Ours is what? Midnight? There's 4. Now we have 4 doors that are closing. A door closes at midnight for the priests. A door closes at the midnight cry through the Sunday law for the Levites. A door closes for the Nethinims from the Sunday law till Michael stands up. And a door closes when Michael stands up for the 144,000, right? So we have 4 doors that are closing. Who are the 100? Okay.
So now I'm confused. So the door closes at midnight. At the midnight cry, whose door closes?
The door's closing for the Levites. Did I say different?
No, he said midnight cry Sunday law is for the Levites.
Okay, so from the midnight cry to the Sunday law, there's one door. Is that right?
Yeah, but it's progressive.
So we're not saying there's a door that closes at the midnight cry, it's progressive.
No, I'm saying it closes at the midnight cry through the Sunday law. It begins.
Okay, so it's
Okay, so is that incorrect?
no, so I'm just, so at the Sunday law, whose door closes?
Nethinims.
But it's progressive, so it's from the Sunday law.
Pardon me?
Can you say that whole thing again?
Yeah, yeah, no.
Okay, well, first off, let me tell you why I am saying it. Okay, I'm saying it because the Lion of the tribe of Judah is in the process of trying to bring clarity into this message and this movement at this time period. He's cleaning up the jewels. He's given us some really hard tasks as student of prophecy, because right here at midnight, you know what's going to happen to you and me if we're faithful? We're going to get brought in before Nebuchadnezzar, and he's going to test us and see if our experience is in agreement with the message that we proclaim. He's going to see if we've actually come to understand the prophetic message from here to here, from the time period that Daniel said, I'll eat the king's meat, the heavenly king's meat, and nothing else, until here. Now he's going to get tested to see. So the Lion of the tribe of Judah, he's not making it easy for us, he's making it hard for us. He knows that there's a shaking going on. There's the introduction of counterfeit coins and jewels that are coming into this history. But not only that, he's kicking up the requirements because he's saying you're going to have to grapple with fractals. You're going to have to grapple, and that's what we're grappling with here with these 4 closed doors. Because I'm about ready to challenge some of your simplistic ideas about the closed door when you talk about the 4 closed doors, because it's going to start causing you a headache to explain the premises that you're holding on to about being settled into the truth for eternity when the door closes at midnight. Because if you're going to be faithful and be among the 144,000, then you've got some kind of other door that closes down there when Michael stands up. What does that mean? Do you have to go through each door? These are the kind of questions that come up. So we're having this crash course. It's hard. You better understand fractals. You better come to grips with the fact that Christ can speak through numbers if he chooses to do so. And names, I never even mentioned names. There have been people in Christian history that have noted the names of people and places and made good of it, but never like this movement. This movement deals with the names. Okay, so we're in this history, we're getting this university course on prophetic study in a time period when there's counterfeit coins being shaken, and we're coming into this history here because Nebuchadnezzar is going to test us to see, did we pass this schooling process of 3 years? And we're going to pass. If we're faithful, we're going to be 10 times smarter than anyone else. So the question of the 4 doors. What was the question of the 4 doors? Do we have to go through them all? You want to go through them all. Sister White says, strive to be among the 144,000. And the 144,000 are group 4. So if there's 4 doors and we're group 1, we got the first door, we want to go through that history. Maybe I'm misrepresenting it by saying going through the doors. Because the doors at the midnight cry is a marker of probationary time for the Levites. So that one, do you have to go through that door? No. When the Levites wake up to the fact that they're in a religious crisis, the priest, that door is not for them, right? Because they've already come to their position. When the door closes on the Nethinims, and it closes progressively all the way down here until Michael stands up at the close of probation, that door is not really for the priests, right? Right? But when Michael stands up at the close of human probation, that door, that harvest, who's it for? For everyone.
That's the final one. Anyone who's left.
Okay, let's put it this way. I'll grant you could say it that way. Who gets harvested when Michael stands up? The 144,000. Who are the 144,000? They're priests. Didn't they get harvested back here? Okay. That's my point.
Does it have to do with?
What Adventism needed to hear in the sixth kingdom of Bible prophecy was a very simplistic understanding of what the closed door represented in order to arouse them to the need of preparation. If you have been aroused from 1989 into this history, and if you recognize 9/11, if you recognize 9/11 for what it is, what happens to you? Pardon me?
Become a priest and you get into the message.
Okay, that's not what yeah, that's true. Your name's changed. What's your name? I just told you who you were. No. You're the one that's accepted the message of 9/11. How do you accept the message? You have to hear it. You're Simon, you heard it, son of Jonah, dove, son of 9/11. You've heard the message of 9/11, and when you hear the message of 9/11, what happens to you? Your name is changed to Peter. You're now in a covenant relationship, and your covenant relationship is the covenant relationship between Christ and the 144,000. But are the 144,000 priests? So, and illustrates the beginning, but that's not the point. These are priests. Okay, so it'd be okay in number 4 if they're priests, because the end illustrates the beginning. But why do the priests get harvested here, and the 144,000 who are priests get harvested again down here?
Because maybe not all the priests.
That is the question. And that's one of those questions that you may try to be prepared to answer it, but I'm not certain that I have all the angle. How about my sister here? Can you answer? Okay. We're looking for answers, and you're going to throw another question in the mix, huh? Go ahead.
If the 140,000 people, all of them are alive at that time?
Yes, when Michael stands up, yeah, it's those that are alive. That's who they are.
The 140,000 in the world.
Yep.
But
Is it-
Ellen White is one of the 140.
Is she?
You with the 144,000.
With, okay.
When were they told to keep the garments?
I know your husband is Latin. Are you Latin? Are you married? No, why am I?
Yeah.
Okay, but you're not Latin.
No.
Okay, well, let's just use him. Okay? Everyone up here in this corner is Anglo. We get back to that table, a little bit changed. We'll just keep it simple. We're all Anglo, but he's Latin. So he's with us. But he's not Anglo, he's Latin. So when Sister White's, or the sister was told that if she's faithful, she'll be among the 144,000, you can have a group of Anglo people, and you can have a Mexican be among them, but he's still not Anglo. I'm just talking about the grammar. I'm really not talking about race. So those passages where Sister White's, going to be among the 144,000, those are not proof texts that say that she is one of the 144,000. If you're going to take that position, which gets taken in Adventism, particularly with the Seventh-day Adventist Reform movement based upon the writings primarily of Loughborough, if you're going to take that position, one of the first things you're going to have to grapple with is one of the characteristics of the 144,000 that Sister White does not live up to. Because the 144,000 are those that have got the victory over the beast in his image and his name and his number. And Sister White did not live in the time period where the mark of the beast was enforced. So she could not have qualified for that characteristic. She couldn't be the 144,000. So you just got to be careful about her grammar if that's correct. But there is a percentage of Adventism that believes that very thing.
Are the Levites, any of them going to be in the 144,000?
Okay, wait a second. Remember his question, because her hand's been up there for a long time. I keep forgetting it.
So are you saying that the cultural model that you have that shows the different periods of harvest are just the symbol of the actual literal harvest that's happening at the end? They're just kind of symbolic of what's going to happen? Just to make us forewarned so we get ready in time?
I have to be careful about defining the agricultural model, because this is something that Parminder has introduced, and I'm not sure that I understand all the depth of it that he does. But for me, I'm going to explain it. Right here at midnight, the priests are getting harvested, and midnight cry, Levites, and the Levites are getting harvested all the way to the Sunday law, and from the Sunday law onward, the Nethinims are getting harvested all the way to the close of probation, where the 144,000 are getting harvested. So for me, from this point on, we're in the harvest. We're in the harvest all the way through. It's not a different harvest, it's harvest time. It's the end of the world. It's summer. Summer is the end of the world, it's the harvest. And if summer is the past, you don't want to be lost. Your question?
So will any of the 144,000 be Levites?
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking so. One of the characteristics of the 144,000 is that they are first fruits. The priests are first fruits, but so are the Levites.
So they can be nothing understood?
No. No. Well, I'm giving you my answer to Levites, and you're expanding the question before I even finish. And I'm not criticizing, but the priests and the Levites go together to make up Adventism, if I can say it that way. This is not only the total end of Adventism, this is the end of the sixth kingdom of Bible prophecy. So this is Pharaoh at midnight, at Passover. Egypt's coming to a conclusion, and God's people are getting ready to leave Egypt. Okay, so that's the history of the United States. So before you get to the end of the sixth kingdom of Bible prophecy, God's not only resolving his issues with the United States, because they filled up their cup of probationary time, but he's resolving his issue with Adventism. And one of the characteristics of the 144,000 in Revelation is that they are virgins. And Great Controversy 393 says the parable of the 10 virgins of Matthew 25 illustrates the experience of the Adventist people. It doesn't say illustrates the experience of the priests of Adventism. So I think Levites, first fruits, the 2 wave loaves. Priests, first fruits, 144,000 first fruits. Virgins, priests, Levites. I'm thinking Adventism is what goes to make up the 144,000. Yes, my sister.
I thought we had come to the conclusion that it was just priests, and now you're going back.
No, I ain't going back. That conclusion is out there. I realize that. I don't know how to present that, and I need to have it clarified for me in order to do so. Did you hear what she said? She thought that we'd reached the conclusion where it's only priests that are the 144,000. I have heard that too. I know that's taught. I'm simply telling you. Okay, and this is where it can be from my myopic picture of the sixth kingdom of Bible prophecy. This is the end of Adventism. Okay, but tell me what?
Well, I'm asking a question because I'm trying to figure it out or remember back. Keep your garments spotless. When did he tell them that? And there's a change of administration when he tells them that, so we're just looking at it.
He told them that just before October 22nd, 1844. He's saying, I'm going to move, it's early writings, page 55, 56. He's moving into the most holy place, and as he's getting ready to move, if I recall it right, he says, keep your garments or robes spotless. Okay, so he's going to his father.
Keep your garments spotless.
Back up for earlier.
Yeah, it was. I saw the Father rise from the throne.
Okay, the Father's moving into the most holy place.
And in a flaming chariot go into the Holy of Holies within the veil and sit down. Then Jesus rose up from the throne, and the most of those who were bowed down arose with him.
So he's risen up from the throne. Yep. Where's he sitting?
I did not.
Where's that throne? It's in the holy place.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's still in the holy place.
I did not see one ray of light pass from Jesus to the careless multitude after he arose, and they were left in perfect darkness. Those who arose when Jesus did kept their eyes fixed on him as he left the throne and led them out a little way. Then he raised his right arm. That's in the other one too. He raised his right arm, and we heard his lovely voice saying, "Wait here, I am going to my Father to receive the kingdom. Keep your garments spotless. And in a little while, I'll return from the wedding and receive you to myself."
Everyone hear that? What does that mean to you?
I don't know, but it's just...
No, I mean to everyone. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just thinking through, is that something to do with going from the priest all the way to the 144,000? Is that, I was trying to look up and remember where he tells you keep your garment spotless. Because I know it's back then, but wouldn't it repeat?
Yeah, I'm saying, as I understand that, when the door is going to close, okay, a change of dispensation. A door can also mean a change.
She said a change in ministry.
We're ministering.
There's-
Ministries are changing
Or
also.
ours are, but in that story, Christ is changing his ministration.
Yeah, so we're copying.
So he's going to move from here to here. And he's going to tell the people that are following him, standing up with him, getting ready to follow him, keep your garments spotless. I'm saying he's got to tell them that right before he makes this move. You don't.
So, but if you're told to keep your garment spotless, does that mean then, if you don't keep your garment spotless and go all the way through faithfully, remaining pure with your garments spotless at the end? You're just looking at the
If you don't what?
If you don't keep them spotless, is that
then you don't
suggesting
make
that
it.
you possibly don't keep your garment spotless?
Well, if you say-
If we get to that,
Perhaps, but that's not the reading I get from it. The reading I get from it is it's giving witness to the fact that before the door closes and before there's a dispensational change, our garments have to be spotless. We can't wait till the dispensational change or after to have those spots removed. So that's what I'm deriving from it. But you're asking,
what I'm asking is, is it saying that it's possible that after midnight we could not have our garments spotless? And that have something to
well,
do
that's the issue I'm raising that's out there. Okay, so, and
Didn't we learn yesterday that people follow law off
Oh,
all the way?
yes,
Yeah.
What about, is that before October 22?
it's at that history.
So if we're putting down at 2014, isn't that when we're told to keep our garments spotless?
Oh, no. Well, you go ahead. You can back up October 22nd here and look at it that way. But what we're looking at here is not this. We're looking at a closed door, a change of dispensation, and that allows us to bring these illustrations of a change of dispensation, a closed door, even to here. So yeah, I get your point that this is back here on October 22nd as well, but this closed door here is also a closed door, change of dispensation. So I probably shouldn't have said one thing because it'll cause me a heartache, but it's already in the record. I'm open for correction. I get it. I remember when it got introduced that the priests, the 144,000 are only priests.
Based on the lines.
Based on the lines.
The big picture line
Yeah.
and then the priest line are identical, whereas the Levites line is different. That's the way we were shown.
Yeah, I get that. So anyway, that's that logic. Even if it's even if it's going to get corrected down the line, both the priests and the Levites are first fruit offerings. They can't be separated, brothers and sisters, at one level. They're the first fruit offering for Pentecost and the first fruit offering at Passover, and you can't separate those two. They're connected. The priests and the Levites are connected. They're all Adventists. But I get it. I probably taught a little error there. But it wasn't about teaching error or truth there. What I'm trying to teach here is that at this history, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the dirt brush man, he is actively bringing clarity into these things, even though we're at the point to where we really shouldn't be claiming that we have the clarity. I think by faith we can see that that's what's happening at this time. And I didn't spend a great deal of time on it, but in this history right here where parable teaching gets introduced, I think that is one of the tools that the Lion of the tribe of Judah uses to really sweep the nonsense out the window. But parables, relating to the prophecies as parables and using the rules of parables is something that you have to what? You have to learn how to do. You have to master it. And I'm saying that's consistent with this history, that the Lord is attempting to train students of prophecy for this crisis ahead in advance. So he has given them fractals, numbers, a shaking, controversies that are going on, and then there's one other thing that he's given, and I'm just going to mention it, and you can tell me if it wouldn't be consistent with part of that prophetic testing process. He's given us a message now that is hidden. It's hidden, and we didn't even know that we had a hidden message till the message was already taking place. I used to teach, this just flashed on me. I used to teach, and this is true. It's a true story, and it's true that I used to teach it. I'm going to go one more minute in theory by this clock. That the hardest test to pass is a test that you don't know you're involved in. And I would use the British spy network in World War II and how they trained their spies. And it teaches that very thing. If you were going to be a spy in Germany and they were going to teach you how to infiltrate Germany, they're going to put you in Hamburg, Germany, then they're going to teach you the language of Hamburg, Germany, which is different than Berlin or the other cities. Just like the way they talk in Arkansas, y'all, is a little bit different than you talk here in California. So if you're going to be trained as a spy in Germany, as an Englishman, to go in and be a German, you're not only going to learn the dialect of Hamburg, you're going to learn what clothes the Hamburgians wear, what their history is. You're going to know everything. You're going to be someone that's from not just Germany, Hamburg, Germany, but you know that you have a final test that's pass or fail. You either pass it or you fail it, and you don't know what the final test is. And the day before the final test, they took you out and they worked you physically all day long into the night to where you wore out physically, and you got into bed and you went to sleep, and in the middle of the night they came in and they shake you awake. And if you don't wake up speaking perfect Hamburg German, you flunk. And you didn't know that was going to happen to you. And brothers and sisters, that's where we're at. I just realized that that's where we're at. We didn't know that the Lion of the tribe of Judah was putting us into a testing period where the message we need to understand was hidden. And now he's opened it up to us that, yeah, it's been underway here and we didn't even see it. Now we got to backtrack, learn what it was just not too long ago in order to come to grips with what it means about November 9th this year, 6 months away. That's why I've asked a few times, do you know what's going to happen on November 9th? None of us seem to know with clarity what's going to happen on November 9th. I don't think we get to know until we pass the prophetic test that the Lord has put us in. And part of that prophetic test is to go back and master this hidden history that's already taken place, so that we understand how it began, because if we understand how that hidden history began in our history, we'll know how it ends, because Jesus illustrates the end from the beginning. Okay, so this is where we're at. We're 6 months away from it. I think from my experience over the past 30 years with this prophetic message, I am positive the Lord is going to bring clarity and unity into this movement in the very near future. But I'm also positive it's going to be real painful. There are difficult times ahead for everyone in this room, even if there isn't any economic or political or military crisis that confronts us right away. The difficult process is what's about to happen in our personal experience. The struggle that's about to take place between you and I or our family members is where Satan's going to take us down, I believe. But in the meantime, we know all these other crises are about to hit too. We're in, I believe, a time period that the Bible calls the beginning of sorrows. Forget the idea of what's going to happen when the Civil War starts or martial law starts. That don't mean a whole lot to me if my son, my daughter, my son-in-law, my grandson, his wife, my granddaughter, her boyfriend, my great-granddaughter, if they're all lost, and I get to watch them get lost in the next 6 months as probation closes, that will be enough shaking for me, enough struggle for me, that I don't need to worry about this. I need to worry sin. I don't want to disregard the civil war, the dictatorship, and the strikes of Islam that are coming. But I think we've got some really hard times ahead. And I'm thinking, praise the Lord. I don't have the slightest idea why the Lord would have allowed me to be here at this point in history and still have the opportunity to be on the right side of things, but He did. Praise the Lord, He did. Why are you here? Do you think you deserve to be here? So I think we have to hold on to that. Amen. That how many people in this world are looking at this light? What a privilege, but what a responsibility. And I wish I hadn't said that about the 144,000. I wish I would have left that off. But it's always something anymore. Is there any more questions before we bring this to a conclusion? Yes?
Not a question, but an observation.
Okay.
When you harvest a field, you don't do it in one day. I've watched them harvest fields around my house. They start at one end, and then there's this much done, and then this much done. Those are those doors closing. The field is being harvested all the way till the
Nice metaphor. Are there observations, comments?
Observation. It looks like you gave a second witness to the 144,000 being the Levites
with the what?
With Peter up there. Because all that takes place at the midnight cry. So it seems like God is entering into a relationship with the 144,000 at the midnight cry, which you know will be the Levites.
Oh, you're just trying to push me further off into rebellion. I would say, hold your own, Brother Jeff. Everyone else is going the other direction, but hold your own. Yeah, I sometimes know of second witnesses that I don't throw in because but that's a nice observation. Okay, if you are considering baptism before November 9th, how many meetings have you got scheduled in California before November 9th? The dates, are you setting just one or two?
Sending it out for us or for all
For California.
We're looking at June, possibly August,
June,
and October.
June, August, and October. If you desire to be baptized and haven't been and desire to be baptized, Tyler is starting a baptismal class, going through the vows. I need your name. I need to know how to connect with you so he can put you into this group.
His first class is this coming Tuesday, April 30th.
The first class is this coming Thursday, Tuesday, April 30th.
They can register online. He's got it set up to register online.
They can register online. Where at online?
On your FSA website, I believe, right? Yeah, it's on your website.
What's my website? Anyone know? www.
The FFA wiki. I don't know how to. I know if you do.
Okay, I don't know what it is either. But
Future for America, it'll be there.
Future for America.
Yeah.
But the full name.
Yeah.
It'll come up.
If you just Google Future for America, and it'll come to there.
Okay.
And there was a link to register. And the
All right.
classes start Tuesday.
Is it registered just
At 5 for anybody who wants to go, or just for FAFSA?
He said anybody can go if you
So
want to
you
go.
have to register?
Yes.
But outside of America, we're not allowed to go, so I'm gonna email and ask why not. Because when I got the email from Bronwyn, she said America only.
Okay.
So I
For some reason, I have no idea.
really want to sit in.
For some reason, they've taken the position on this that no one outside America, the United States. I don't know why they did it. My suspicion is telephone cost. I don't know. It's a telephone. It's Zoom. It's computer. I don't know why. I have no idea. Unless it's that Tableau is saying, hey, we'll manage Canada, and you, because they want to be able to follow up face to face with people. So if that's the case, then I know some people I might be able to work it where you can set in. Just don't tell anyone. Yeah, it's who you know.
You have to change your name on the computer.
No, but what I mean by that, if that is the reason they did it, you've been baptized. So so they're not worrying about having to do follow-up with you because you live in Canada. If that's the problem, then it isn't a problem. But I don't know. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for this Sabbath day that has now come and passed. It was a blessing. These days of study have been a blessing. Perhaps the high point was when you took us to Miller Way in Hidden Valley at the swimming pool where 25 souls publicly demonstrated their covenant relationship with you. We thank you for that. We thank you that providentially you put a nice touch upon it by making it in Hidden Valley on Miller Way. But beyond that, the things that we've been studying, the things that we've been considering, we ask that you'd give us a willingness to go home and test these things, fine-tune these things, bring us corporately to a position where we can begin to bring clarity into some of these problematic prophetic understandings with the closed doors and the various groups that go through this probationary process. Lord, we know troublous times are ahead, and we really don't know where we're going to be tomorrow, if we're even going to be alive. So I ask a blessing upon all the brothers and sisters that are here. If we do not meet again on planet Earth, that somehow, some way you can lead us to a place where we can meet together again in the sea of glass, if not before. We have meetings in California here that are planned to take place before November 9th. We ask that you would take control of those meetings and make them happen according to your will. And as we break camp here, we ask that you would convict those that need to stay here and help put these things away to do so, and take all of us home safely. Give us traveling mercies. And we thank you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.